Today I'm going to show you how to scrub a board, and in this process I'm going to use a variety of different tools, and so you'll see the video will stop and I'll change scenery of the video and start a new saw. That way you can see each step as it goes, but I'm not going to have you watch me walk around the shop. I'm just going to move the camera to that location and then hit play again or record and let it start recording on that new site. I will also, only when I run the planer, there'll be a lot of noise, so I'll describe what I'm doing beforehand, and then I'll turn everything on, air system and all that, and run it through, but I won't be talking while the air system is on. So here we go. Let me get my board for you so you can see what I'm going to do, and I'll show you how to scrub a board in this video. Alright, so this is my board. It is approximately 8 to 10 foot long, and I only need a 4-foot section of it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to the chop saw, which is behind me, and I'm going to cut it down to, I need 42 inches, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it at 48. That way everything will be longer than what I need at the ends, because I can always cut it down to size later. It's harder to add back once you cut things off. So first saw I'm going to use on my board is cutting it down to 48 inches, and that saw would be the chop saw. Alright, here I am over at the sliding compound miter saw or chop saw. I'm getting ready to measure my board to the 48 inches that I'm going to cut it. Remember, the finish length that I need is about 42 inches. So I'm going to add in that extra length just to make sure that I have enough for the board. Other things that you need to consider when you're cutting your board down to size is at the edge of the board, you can have what's called checking, and you want to cut that off. So I'm going to measure from 48 to here, all right, knowing that my board is already too long, and then also taking into account I'm going to lose that 2 inches. So now my board's going to be 48 long, but I've only got 46 usable inches. So here we are. I'm going to take this. I'm going to switch out my glasses for safety glasses, as we always want to be safe and wear safety glasses at all times. Measuring this here, sliding it down. And that's how you cut a board down to length. Alright, the tool behind me right here, this is called a joiner. And what it has is it has knives that are right here inside the head. And you take your board and you run it on its edge through the joiner. Alright, you can also face plane on this, but we have an actual planer, so we don't do that in the shop. But I didn't want someone saying, well, you can face plane with that, Mr. Mellick. Yes, you can. We just don't do it in the shop. All I want to do on this machine is I want to take it and just clean up one edge. Now I also want to make sure when I look down the board that I want to pick the edge that cups in, not the edge that bows out. Because if I take the edge that bows out as I run it through, I'm going to keep getting this action with my board, and it will never get straight. If I do the side that cups in, it'll hit the high point and the high point, and eventually it will straighten it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this. I'm going to turn on the air and the machine and run this so you can see what happens. Okay, now that I've joined the board and it is smooth on one edge all the way down, I am now ready to use the table saw. And the table saw, I will take my smooth edge that I made and I'll put that against the fence of the table saw. I'm going to angle the camera so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so I've got my smooth edge here. Alright, it's going to be angled or touching the fence here. So I've got smooth against smooth, and I'll adjust the fence to the proper width that I want to cut it, and I'll feed it through, making sure that my hands never ever cross inside this red plate, and standing off to the side as I push it through to make sure that I am out of the kickback zone. So I'm going to turn the saws on and the air back on so you can see what's going on, but now you understand what I'm going to do. Something I forgot to do is make sure the blade is high enough. All right, so now the two sides of my board, they are parallel to each other, and I can go back to the chop saw and cut both ends off so that way they are straight. Because before, when I made this cut at the other end, this edge was not perfectly straight, so I don't know if it's going to be straight now, so I'm going to go ahead and re-chop that to make sure that both ends are, the whole board is square. After that, I'm going to run the board through the planer to surface it down, and you'll get to see how the board changes the color as it comes out the other end. This kind of shows you how far off from square that the board was. So now that side of the board is perfectly square, and I'm going to cut the other side so it is perfectly square. Now remember, we started with a 48-inch board. Now we are down to 47, so we've already lost an inch. That's why I had said at the very beginning, my finished board is supposed to be at 42. So I've still got a little bit of playroom yet. All right, this piece of machinery, it's a planer. The knives are in the top. You put your board through and it cuts off the top side of the board, getting rid of all of the rough saw marks and all of that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start it up, and I'll set the camera up on the outfeed side so you can see the board come out, and plane the board down so it's a little bit thinner. See how it looks different from this side that was planed to this side that was not planed. All right. Now you've seen how we take a board that looks like this. Rough edge, not straight, not pretty looking, and turn it into something that looks like this. Just straight edge, squared all the way around, and something that is now usable. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you can remember the tools that we use, which are the chop saw or sliding compound miter saw, the joiner, which cleaned up the edges of the board, the table saw, which cleaned up the opposite edge of the board, therefore giving us two parallel straight sides, and then we went back to the chop saw to square off the ends because the sides are now straight and parallel, and finished up with the planer, therefore planing down the top, getting it smooth and straight. Thank you. Have a great day.